Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, this is a local bill, should have been on local calendar. This is to help keep a hospital in a very small community open.
Following amendment, the clerk will read the amendment.
Amendment by Tinderholt.
Chair recognizes Representative Tinderholt.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. It's not traditional to do an amendment on third reading, but yesterday I'd called a point of order and I had this amendment prepared and leadership gavelled straight through it, so that's why this is happening today. So in times like they are today, with people talking about the huge increases in taxes, we know that that's some of people's number one priority is to decrease taxes. So here's what this amendment does. It doesn't allow this tax to be increased by over 100% from 12 cents to 25. It mitigates this hospital district taxing authority to increase it by 25% to 15 cents instead of 12. Bottom line is this. Vote with me, and you're voting to mitigate the amount of tax that can be levied against taxpayers. Vote with the author, and you're voting to increase taxes by over 100%. I move for adoption.
Chairman Coleman, for what purpose?
Mr. Speaker, is this a local bill?
It is a local bill.
It's a local bill.
Chairman Coleman, do you wish to
ask for questions?
Mr. Tinderholt, do you?
Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Gentleman yields.
Yes, sir, I do.
Is this a local bill that's bracketed to a particular county?
It is.
Yes. And I think the vote in committee was basically unanimous. It might have been one no vote, and that's why I could not go to local. Do you think it's appropriate to change somebody's local bill to fit a particular principle?
I absolutely think it's important as legislators to mitigate the amount of taxes that are taxed on any Texan anywhere in the state. And the fact that it didn't go to local and consent shouldn't be of concern right now. It's on the House floor for us to deal with. So I think it's really important. Again,
do the voters, is there an election required to do the things that are in Chairman Cook's bill?
There absolutely is, but as
so the local people don't know what they're doing?
No, but what I'm saying is, as legislators, this bill's in front of us, and we need to do our duty and due diligence and to allow a tax increase, a potential tax increase of over 100%. So we can't do that.
Every member in this House potentially has a local bill that is needed for their county. And are you going to stand up on every one of their bills?
If they come to the general calendar and they're trying to increase taxes by over 100%, absolutely, sir.
Okay. So do you know that Mr. Stickland voted for this bill in committee?
That's not of relevance to me on this issue.
Well, it does, because he's as anti-tax as you are, but he understands, fortunately, that local people need to have local resources and things. So I just want you to know I'm against this amendment.
Thank you, sir.
Chairman Huberty, for what purpose?
Mr. Speaker, will the gentleman yield for
questions? Will the gentleman yield for questions?
Thank you.
The gentleman
Thank you, Mr. Tyndall. So that was interesting that what Representative Chairman Coleman just mentioned, that, I've been watching through the session when we have bills that are coming to the floor. Excuse me, Mr. Tyndall.
I'm sorry.
Okay. We have bills coming to the floor that are being voted out of committees for members voting for those bills, and then they get to the floor and then they're not voting for it for a variety of reasons or whatever. And we count on those members on those committees to pay attention and listen to the testimony. Is that what you understand that gives some of us concern as we go forward? But my question is this representing, I believe, is it the Fairfield Hospital District? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And how long have you represented the Fairfield Hospital District?
I don't, but this bill's on general calendar, and it's increasing taxes on Texans. Even though they live in Fairfield, they're Texans, and it's our duty when it comes to this calendar to mitigate that tax. It's 100%.
Mr. Tinderholt, you're using tax increases and all these things that you talk about all the time to go on for a local bill. This is a local bill for Chairman Cook. I have seen from time to time, and I don't know what's going on in this legislative session, but the respect that we have to represent our local districts, our local districts We're going to have a bill on the floor that's very important to the city of Houston later today. This is a local, these are local decisions. We're asking our bodies. We respect each other when that comes. I don't understand why you feel you need to sit up there. We understand that you don't like taxes. You tell us that every single day. You tell us every day that you don't like taxes. Then you know what? Don't vote for the bill, but don't up there and sit there and try and embarrass Chairman Cook up there.
I'm not trying to do any embarrassment.
You're exactly doing that.
What's important is that we protect the taxpayers, and that's what I'm doing.
Mr. Rinaldi, for what purpose?
Will the gentleman yield for a question?
Will the gentleman yield?
Absolutely.
Mr. Tinderholt, are you aware this is a local bill?
Yes, sir.
How many local bills in 2 legislative sessions have you ever had put on the calendar?
0.
Thank you.
I move adoption.
Chair recognizes Representative Cook.
Members, I'm going to ask you to oppose this amendment. And let me just tell you what we're talking about here. We're talking about a very small community that's on the verge of losing its hospital. We're talking about a hospital board that came to me and said, we have to have this tool if we're going to keep this hospital open. And I want to apologize to the whole body that with all the bills we've got to pass today and the fact that we've got everybody from Houston, we're spending all this time on this bill. It's pretty inexcusable. I don't think this has anything to do with this bill at all. But once again, I'd ask everybody to vote no, because every one of us has got to go home and work for our constituents, and that's what I'm doing here. Thank you very much.
The question occurs on the adoption of the Tinderholt amendment. It's an up or down vote. The division vote. Vote aye, vote no. Record vote's been requested. Record vote is granted. The clerk will ring the bell. Representative Guerra voting nay. Representative Coleman voting nay. Representative Cook voting nay. Have all voted? Have all voted? There being 10 ayes and 129 nays, the amendment fails to be adopted. Chair recognizes Representative Cook.
Thank you, members. Move passage.
Does anyone else wish to speak on for or against House Bill 3442? If not, the question occurs on final passage of House Bill 3442. It's a record vote. The clerk will ring the bell. Have all voted? Show Mr. Simmons voting aye. Have all voted? There being 136 ayes and 8 nays, House Bill 3442 is finally passed.